their evidence down the line. But in the process, might actually cause a lot of undue concern already. There was an instance recently of a person suspected of having SARS and who had a death in the family who comes in, and government basically found out when he checked into a hospital. And the process is you go through places that he has gone through, people that he has made contact with. So should we, if this happened in one locality here, should we start announcing it right away? And then have people who had never had any possibility of contact with him think that they already have been exposed to SARS. No? So when I was a kid, I was told, absolute freedom is the greatest actual imprisonment. There has to be some discipline, there has to be some measure. Our system of laws say you have freedom of speech, but the freedom of speech, that's a guarantee, does not allow you, for instance, to say there's a fire in a movie theater.
That's right.
So the difficulty is actually the devil in the details. So where does it help the interests of the people, not the government, but the people, and where can it inflict harm? So we have to draw the parameters. Even for instance, one example again, sometimes you have reports that are not yet of the level that can be brought to a court, but they're necessary. Let's say a major bank has several clients that have absconded with its funds, but you don't have all of the necessary papers with you. Should the person who is in possession of that knowledge say it in a cabinet meeting, subject already to freedom of information, and at the end of the day, without the supporting documents, he's liable for libel, and which will force him to clam up. Then if you are not prepared for the sudden loss of liquidity of that bank, the following day there's a bank run, would that have done our country better? And so these are the details we're trying to come up with, not unilaterally, but talking to all the stakeholders involved, something that will redound to the benefit of the people.
Well, there are always going to be examples when it's not in the interest of the people to reveal certain information. But I assume you believe that the way forward, the direction that things should be moving is generally more information, more of the time. I think under your leadership, the Philippines recently signed up to the Open Government Initiative,
yes,
for example.
Yes.
And so what does your program look like for the next year to help improve access to information?
Instead of promising, why don't I say what we have already done? For instance, in our budget process, we've adopted the zero-based budgeting program. They're on various websites to detail exactly what projects have been approved. But more importantly, we have been engaging civil society in at least 5 of our departments to participate in actually crafting the proposed budget that we submit to Congress. And if that is not transparency in its essence, I don't know what is. None of our government officials are immune from having to answer and address any question propounded by the public. And so I think there are so many aspects that we've already done towards actually putting in practice, enabling our people through information to be able to make better decisions. Now, the only thing lacking, and I think my critics will agree with this, those that are championing freedom of information are saying they don't distrust me that I will reveal everything that has to be revealed. But they're saying that once I am gone, where is their legal backstop that it can continue?
I see. Our next question is from Andy Saw, and Andy asks, what are your plans for the reproductive health bill now that the Catholic Bishops' Conference of the Philippines is preventing its passage?
I'm still in support of what we call the responsible parenthood bill. And I think the violent discourse has somewhat toned down. And it is now actually in Congress, in the Senate, debating on the merits of the bill. And I think it is an essential aspect of governance to be able to, again, empower our people by educating them as to their options and providing those that do not have the wherewithal to act upon their decisions. We have a 2-point-something growth rate. And I use this in several instances. The dearth of education in terms of reproductive rights, sexual education, has already given a condition wherein I won't even go that far. I have a member of my security detail who tells me 3 days before enrolling his eldest child in college that it is expensive to enroll a child in college. And I don't say that facetiously. I was really surprised that, my answer was something to the effect that you had at least 17 years of raising this kid up. before you had to enroll him in college. And this is 3 days before you enroll him is when you find out that it is expensive. And he has 6 or 7 other children that will follow that route. And of course, he has not prepared for that. And what happens if they are not afforded all of these opportunities? So we're not talking about probable problems because of population pressures. We're talking of actual problems that are already now existing. Government's position, basically, under my watch, is educate the people, tell them the range of their choices, leave them to decide on what's best for their family. Forcing them to do one thing or another is not part of the agenda.
We're approaching the end of our time with you, Mr. President, but we have a few more questions, and they're actually a bit lighter than some of the previous ones. Chris Reyes would like to know, if you were to promote one specific destination, activity, and food here in the Philippines, what would it be and why?
If I answer that question, the rest of the people who think they have an equal to or better sides,
that's a no-win
will not
question.
agree. But I think as one of the chief promoters for tourism in our country, I can look anybody in there and say you can go to practically any region in this country and there will be sites that made your trip worthwhile. The food, I guarantee, will, if you're adventurous, if you're very conservative, there will be food that it would really enhance your living, having at least tried. You know? and I'm not talking about the exotic stuff. I'm even talking about, when I travel abroad, then of course so many things are so processed. The food that we do have here does seem to me to have a lot more of the natural taste still intact. Then once our transportation network and issues are more addressed, then even the inter-island travel the inter-island transportation of all of this stuff will be greatly enhanced and will be able to expose more people to the bounties of our country.
Finally, Mr. President, our last question was sent by a 7-year-old boy named Joshua. Joshua sent in a video question, so let's see what he wants to ask the President.
President Noynoy, naniniwala po ba kayo kay Santa Claus? Kung oo, ano pong wish nyo ngayong Pasko?
Siguro, I'm sorry, but I believe in Santa Claus. Santa Claus perhaps as a personification of how people, the best in people, the idea of generosity,